I'm Staff Sergeant Josh Hauser, and on this edition of Command Performance, we're at the Merriweather Post Pavilion in Maryland. And we're going to talk to some rockers who've been around since the 80s, so dust off those jean jackets and let the hair down that Uncle Sam let you keep, because we're going backstage with Queensryche.
I have so much more to say, my brother. Can you hear me?
All right, well, guys, first off, thanks for having us. One thing I wanted to ask you about, especially this new album, American Soldier, really kind of goes back to that storytelling style that albums used to be, and that you guys have done so well in the past. What is it that created this military-driven theme, and what was the process of collecting those interviews that you guys intertwine in your songs?
The whole project really started with a conversation I had with my dad a couple years ago, who is a war veteran of Korea and Vietnam. I grew up in a military family, but as is usual with a lot of military families, you never talked about the war. You never talked about Dad's, involvement with it. It just wasn't talked about. And so it wasn't until a couple years ago I was visiting him, and I had the day off. We were actually touring at the time. And we're sitting out on the back porch of his house, and he just launches into telling me all about Korea. This is the first time I've ever heard these stories, And so I was rather shocked, and I said, Dad, wait a minute, I've been waiting all my life to hear this stuff. Let me grab my video camera. So I grabbed it and stuck it up on the picnic table and recorded the conversation. So fast forward to a couple weeks later, I'm playing the tape, for my daughter and my wife, my kids, and my wife says after watching it, you got to write a song about your dad. You've never written anything about him and his involvement in the military. My wife was in the military as well, so she has an inkling, an idea of what it's like. And I said, well, how could I do that? I've never been there and done it. I could only speak from a platform of complete ignorance,
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, why don't you, interview soldiers, kind of like what you did with your dad. You're asking him all these questions, and it could make for an interesting project. And she was right. It was a very interesting project.
What does it do for you guys, for example? What's the experience like to be around just these troops, these mass troops that'll show up and rock out with you?
Start realizing that they're human too. They're like you, but that they have a dignity to them, a strong morale. But they still like to have fun. They still like to come to the shows and rock and have a good time. So I think it's not being so much of a oh, there's a guy with an army suit on, I'm gonna stay away from him. But actually it's more like, hey, how's it going? I appreciate you serving. I understand what's going on.
Well, guys, I know you gotta wrap it up. You got your show tonight, but please, if there's anything that you'd like to say to the troops out there.
Oh, I'd just say thank you for your service. One of the things I think we as a band have really learned about the military making this record is that a lot of people that aren't in the military don't know anything about it. It's this whole thing that exists within our society that most people don't know anything about it. They don't know, the procedures, what people do, what we're involved with overseas. They're just going about their daily business, doing their job and taking care of their families, and this whole other thing exists. Like the NMFA people, regular people that aren't in the military. What the heck is that? Mm-hmm. We have to explain it to them, and they're excited about getting involved because I think, especially after Vietnam, the country changed radically then, and we saw that, it's very important to honor the troops and not dishonor them because it dishonors us all, And so I think people have much more of a mature way of looking at things now, than we did back then.
If you want to see this Command Performance again or any of our other ones, you can check us out into your own front seat at PentagonChannel.mil.